a third show and Makers will affect the kick, and he does.
Flowers and call, Puopolo, pocket.
Oh,
They away.
no way. Not the man.
It's not possible.
Mitchell, and then Mitchell on the left gets the ball to Hawthorn. Oh, wow!
And that's your zero.
5 seconds to go, then it bounce. 13! 13! Can you believe it? He's kicked 13 on the siren.
Welcome to Hawk Talk for another week. My name's Declan Fate. Limo is not here. The golf game has clashed with Hawk Talk yet again. But I am joined by all-Australian football player, great backman, and possibly the greatest recruit to this club since Stewie Dew, Mr. Brian Lake. How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you. It would be nice to be playing golf right now. It's a little bit chilly, but nice weather outside.
Yeah, you'd go all right. There's a lot of golfers in the club. Are you one of the golfers?
Well, two of the golfers have done their knees at the moment,
Yeah.
so they're just practising on their putting.
Yeah, right.
I can hit an okay ball
Yeah.
if slicing was included in the game,
Oh,
so
right.
I've just got to allow for that a little bit, but
Yeah.
I've got a little putting green at the back, so I'll just try to practice on that, and the kids love it.
How would the groundskeeper go if you teed up the putting green out on Waverley?
You'd definitely pick up a few divots out there. It's
Yeah.
very soft and moist, you could say, the ground out there.
There'd also be a couple of people in the front rooms of those houses if you chipped into the lounge room who may be a little bit unhappy.
Especially with my slice, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, look, I got to ask you, mate. Coming from the Bulldogs to here, we are now on a. If we win this week, it's a 12-game winning streak. Do you know the last time we had a 12-game winning streak? 1961.
40 years ago.
And we won a grand final. Do you allow yourself at all to think about the possibility of playing in, let alone winning a grand final?
No, I've been thinking back in my day, even junior football, I can't really remember being in that scenario of 11 in a row. Personally, 7 in a row because I missed those first few games, so it's pretty good. We've probably been lucky the last couple of weeks to get away with some tough, fought hard wins.
Yeah.
But the guys have been going well.
Well, I've got to ask you about the previous career at the Doggies. I heard a story, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Was there a night that you slept in the grandstand at Western Oval?
Slept, nodded off for a little while, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a long story, that one.
Well, my theory on it always was that you were trying to sort of immerse yourself in the culture of the Western Bulldogs, so spending a night in the grandstand was the perfect way to let it absorb
and
in.
the first couple of years I was there, I started a course in hospitality operations, so they used to have a Thursday night footy show they used to do, so I used to work behind the bar and get to meet all the supporters and stuff like that, so I just thought I just took that to the nth degree in my first year and just embraced the club by sleeping there.
Will you be trying it in the Sir Kenneth Luke stand? Because I reckon you're going to need a couple of nosebleed tablets and a bloody warm sleeping bag.
Well, you have to sometimes. If I'm catching a cab from here to my house, it's going to cost me a fortune.
Yeah, right. And let me ask you, I remember reading, I think it was on the Hawks website at the start of the year, in an interview you gave, you said that coming to the club, it was such a great opportunity for you, but you said there was a lot you could bring to the club, and one of the things was you said that you could actually help Buddy improve his game. Now, how does one approach Buddy with advice to improve his game?
It's probably just more talking to him what I used to do when I used to stand him as a defender, so what I liked him to do, what made me feel comfortable when I stood him. So just giving advice day to day and looking through some reviews if need be.
And what about, I remember the great John Kennedy saying that great backmen or great sort of sets of backmen, a bit like they move like a military unit. Yeah. Do you feel like the Hawks backline is moving like a military unit at the moment? Yeah,
the boys are going well. It's taken me a few games to understand how the guys play and gathering that synergy together. It's not a natural sort of thing to come in and play good football. It's understanding how all those guys like to play individually, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and gelling as well. So it hasn't been easy. It's taken me a few weeks, but I'm finding now it's coming second nature. They're just naturally going in the right positions and able to support my teammates, but also mark the ball myself.
Now, also, I remember one of the stats that comes up if you look at your Wikipedia page. It says one of your great achievements is you stood Fraser Gehrig for an entire match and he did not get a possession. Now, I'm just wondering, how ropeable was Fraser Gehrig by the end of that game?
I was probably mouthing off to him a little bit as well, which probably didn't help the scenario. So Lucky I haven't caught up with him outside of football because he wasn't too happy with some of the comments.
Who was the fiercest backman that you've played on over time? The guy forward? That you just go this. Sorry, who was the fiercest forward that you've played on? Just going, this is going to be a rough game.
Yeah, it's hard. You haven't got those sort of physical contests now. We can wrestle and stuff like that. But Timberlane, you definitely have to say Barry Hall. I was very glad when he came to the Bulldogs at that stage. Didn't have to stand him, and luckily enough, Rocket wouldn't let me stand him in pre-season or training as well. So it was just his explosive power, just off the mark. He was from me to your way. If he just gave you a little tap to push off, you felt it.
Yeah, right.
Definitely felt it. Took the air out of your lungs.
Yeah. Did you bond with him once he ended up coming to the club?
Yeah, the Wires are pretty good friends, and we went away together over to Vegas and New York for a little while. So it was entertaining. It was Ryan Hargrave and Adam Cooney as well. So it's a pretty big group of us, and we had some good times. Yeah,
great. Well, look, I've got to ask you, do you let yourself dream of that day in September? Because the doggies got so close. You got close a couple of times. Does the brain fast forward there at all, and do you have to pull it back in to check?
I do travel about 50 minutes every day to training and home, so the mind does wander a little bit. I've been tempted to actually get a little GoPro camera and just stick it there, just look at my facial reactions and what I go through, which is a lot of things that dream about football and that scenario and what I'd be doing. I actually did think about that on the way to training today, actually, that how I'd react and how I'd be feeling. So it does, but then you do get pulled back because you're out on the track and doing what you need to do every day. And
what about the Stewie Dew scenario? First year recruit, third quarter, do you get the tap from Clarko, we're moving you to the forward pocket, we're going to need 2 off the left?
Hasn't happened yet. No. They needed me to go forward. I did it a couple of times down at Box Hill, which is brought me back to the old days. No, I don't see that happening with our forward line that we've got and potential up there to kick some goals, but if I can take a few intercept marks and be involved in some scoring chains, I'll be happy with that. Yeah,
great stuff. Well, look, we'll move on to the competition firstly for last week. This is last week's competition was who was your most hated team? And we got some real vitriol. If you asked that of Hawthorn supporters, the emails that come through nearly set the inbox on fire. The one that I have chosen, I can't read out the whole thing because someone's written a poem, and as you can see, it's about 4 pages long. This is a Banjo Patterson-esque poem.
Well, there goes your ink.
Well, this person has written it about every team in the and his specific reasons. His name, he's going to pick up a Clarko signed Guernsey. His name was Josh. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we'd be here for pretty much the rest of the day. But a couple of his stanzas were. Geelong, I'd like to see them all put upon the rack. Once they'd shown how great he was, they should have given Ablett back. Then they had, now Essendon's a football club that broke the golden rule. Their hired help ran through a pack and tried to kill Brad Sewell. And then finally, I think one of my favourites was the Swans. Now there's a team who had a holder plug. They travelled to St Kilda twice and hired themselves a thug.
How old is this, Josh?
I was trying to work it out. It's a good effort.
Yeah, well, he's put a lot of time and effort into that.
And for
definitely well deserved.
For his effort, he's picking up a Clarko signed Guernsey. Beautiful. But this week, you will pick up a Brian Lake signed Guernsey.
Yes.
And the question is, who is your favourite ever backman to play for the Hawks? Whether it's of this year, whether it's a Brian Lake.
He played 7 games.
Yeah, it'd be a big call if they named you.
Maybe say who's your favourite fullback in maybe 3 or 4 years' time.
Yeah, right. Okay. What about just in 2013?
Yeah, in the last year.
Yeah, all right. It could be Brian Lake, Crody, or Langford, or going right back, Calvin Moore. Who's your favourite backman and why? The best or most creative answer will pick up a Brian Lake signed Guernsey. Do you want to sign it for us, mate?
No worries. Turn that around.
So let us know. Hit us up at HawkTalk at hawthornfc.com.au. You'll pick up the Brian Lake signed Guernsey. And then maybe a prize we can offer later in the year is they get to spend a night with you in a sleeping bag up on top of the Sir Kenneth Luke stand.
Oh, I'll have to pass that through the missus, but I should be too happy with that. That is it.
That's lovely stuff. Well, Brian, look, thanks so much, firstly, for joining us on the show, but thanks so much for having gone to the last couple of years. We just needed that one big gorilla in the back line that could hold it down, and it's just been a thrill when it goes down there to know that it's going to be rebounding out. So it's on behalf of us and all the Hawk supporters. Thanks very much, mate.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Hit us up during the week at HawkTalk at hawthornfc.com.au. I'll be here next week. Limo will probably be here next week. We'll reschedule the golf game. And Lakey might be on top of the Sir Kenneth Luke stand overnight. We'll see you next week.